Hello and welcome to the Ebbenflow podcast, episode 30. Today, we're talking about my journey to the right. I'm making this episode because it has, the thought of doing it has made me uncomfortable for the past year or so, because it's all about identity and thinking that you're right and division and just investing into certainty. Went through this whole journey last year, and while having the awareness of that I'm not my identity, I'm not my thoughts, I'm like nothing, essentially, to go into that journey of identity and like what it was like. And is there a reason behind it? Maybe. Let's talk about it and see if anything comes up. So, background, I've considered myself a Democrat leaning, left person since I, started learning about politics and, what the different sides kind of stand for. And I would say I was in fourth grade when Obama was elected president. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, hell yeah, black guy as a president. That's dope. I was in fourth grade, so that's all I could really conjure up in terms of like what I thought about it. I didn't know anything about policies or, whatever. I just knew that it's always been white guys as the president for the whole history of the country. So it's interesting that I was like really hype that a black guy was now. I didn't understand the implications of that either. That like if you were a black kid back then, you would see Obama and say, "Oh my God, that's great! Like someone that looks like me is in this position." That inspires me to push myself further, and like that's all great. So, I think Obama had 2 terms, I believe, and then I didn't really pay attention to politics that much. I was focused on school and just being me, going through my own journey of like, I've talked about it before on this show, but not being confident in myself and then finding my confidence. Politics was just like a background thing. And then, learning about being gay, people in my high school coming out as gay, and like lesbians too, like being a lesbian, being different. It was all new to me in high school. That's when I started learning about all this stuff, and obviously I never had a problem with it. I was like, oh, all right, you like guys? That's cool. You're a dude, you like dudes, like that's cool. I don't doesn't bother me. So I'd always been fine with it. And in terms of like foreign policy, economic policy, immigration, I never really grasped any of those concepts. But let's say, well, my dad's an immigrant, and his whole family is, so I was like obviously in support of immigrants. That's what this country is. If you're not a Native American, you're an immigrant. And so, but my dad did it right. He went through all the legal processes to become a U.S. citizen. And so he's a legal immigrant, but like illegal immigrants, I guess they are breaking a law. So that there's a consequence to experience if you come in and you don't go through the correct processes. But okay, so 2017, you know, Trump gets into office, and I, again, not knowing much, I was happy about it, because I figured, like, this guy is like, he's kind of like a clown, you know? Like, he's not like I was kind of getting sick of, like, boring politicians and stuff, and just, like, I don't know, politics was boring, and Trump seemed fun. He seemed like a fun guy, just kind of saying shit. And, like, he had his orange hair and orange skin, and he looked like I said, like a clown. So, I figured, like, why not? You know, this could shake things up. And so, yeah, 2017, right? That's when he was inaugurated. And then I was still finishing up college and all that. So, just, like, not focusing on politics at all. And then Joe Biden is elected, and I was cool with that. I think, yeah, by the end of Trump's first term, I was like, I think this guy's got to go. Didn't seem to be doing a good job. So I was like, I think we need, like, to return to, like, normal politics again. So, yeah, was happy about Biden coming in, and I like Sanders and Yang and all that. Like, when they were talking about universal basic income, like, it makes sense. If you're a human, there's, like, a baseline of maybe how you should be treated in society. Is like, why should anyone go hungry? Why should anyone go without a house? It seems like the technology to have an abundance of food and shelter is here. We can do it. And, like, just basically support your basic needs from the government. But now, now that I'm more involved with Bitcoin, like, I have a different view on that, which maybe I can talk about later. But yeah, I mean, I also, again, growing up, I like conspiracy theories. I liked listening to them. I liked trying to, like, challenge the common narrative, because it was interesting. It leads to interesting discussions. I like discussing conspiracy theories with my friends and listening to conspiracy theory podcasts and documentaries, because I just liked that it was questioning the common story and the common picture. As well, in 2022, coming across dualistic unity, the recognition that my thoughts are driven by my attachment to my thoughts is driven by my ego, and my ego is a way for me to experience me versus everything else. When that's just an illusion, it's just me. So, you know, I was not only questioning narratives outside of myself, but inside of myself as well. Like, am I the story that I've been telling myself? So, after that recognition in 2022, I also picked up Wing Chun martial arts, which taught me that you need to consistently show up to do something, and do it over and over and over again to become better at it. Just like doing the same motions and sequences and punches and strikes, kicks, whatever. Like, that is the discipline required for you to be a martial artist who is proficient. And that was the time where I was getting into my health and wellness, my own personal health journey, starting with Soul Bra. Talked about him a good amount in the past, but that's when I started listening to Soul Bra. I started listening to, my eyes were opening about seed oils, processed foods, how everything's kind of poisoned in the food supply and the water supply, like with fluoride, kind of becoming like, fuck all this shit, like getting a shower filter, filtering all my water, getting sunlight, sunning my butthole and balls and like all that. Like, you know, yeah, sunning your genitals. Like, the reasoning was you don't normally get sun on it. Sun is good for the vitamin D and from Solbra and like Carnivore Aurelius, just all the benefits of sunlight and like how humans as society has been indoors and I'm getting a little off topic into health and wellness now, but it's part of it. All leads into where I'm going. That, you know, almost Solbra is also like, you know, anti-V, and you know, I feel like I have to like step on eggshells when I'm making videos like this, because it seems that like YouTube is just not as free speech as it once was, for like speaking on certain topics. So I'm also nervous about making this video because it may violate something. I might say something that violates YouTube's guidelines. And if it gets taken down, then whatever. But I'm just glad I'm making it now. So yeah, you know, anti-V. I hope you can deduce what that means. Everyone in that space, like Carnivore Aurelius, like the, you know, like the raw milk community, you know, like I was reading all this studies and or watching videos about why raw milk is beneficial, why pasteurized milk has been part of why we're nutrient deficient. Just, and like I started getting my food at farmers markets, just becoming more of like a traditional, you know, anti-capitalist person, not using supermarkets, you know, anti-big things, big pharma, you know, like refusing medicine or not going to the doctors, and then becoming, you know, a little anti-V, and it was really becoming slowly ingrained into who I was becoming. I was no longer a soy boy, as some would put, minimizing plastic exposure, like getting all cotton clothes, focusing on like building a business, like full-on sovereignty kind of person. And then it builds into the summer of 2024 when Trump is almost assassinated. That when I heard of it, my mind went to, let's see what Alex Jones has to say about this, because Alex Jones is like, he was my favorite conspiracy theorist at the time. And I am interested. I still had that conspiracy theory interest. So, you know, I tuned in. I started listening to him, and he was saying interesting things, like it's the globalist movement. There's like a secret society, and they want there's like, you know, spiritual warfare, that like, you know, if like the Democrats are trying to make sure that everyone's enslaved, everyone is controlled like 1984. They like the COVID virus, like COVID was fake. You know, it was like a test really to see how citizens would comply to their government. And and that like it was being set up so that like Democrats would be in government forever, and that Alex was pretty much saying that like Trump was the last hope for a free world. So I bought into it. I kept going down that path. RFK as well, being raw milk, beef, tallow, anti-V, sunlight, lifting, fitness, like all the stuff that I had highly valued and was identifying with at the time was with him too. RFK was on Trump's team at that point, so it just seemed to make sense to like keep going. And there was a point where I was starting to become aware that, wow, I'm going down a certain path. Should I turn back? And my answer to that was no. I'm going to keep going. Because I feel like I wanted to do something different, to chart my own path, in that I still supported unity and like not being divisive, even though as I'm going down this path, I am being divisive. Again, I could have been retard maxing that year in 2024, and I think I was being pretty retarded. But I feel like maybe I wanted the experience of what it was like to be retarded in that way. So I started to resent those who supported Kamala and the Democrats. I was bought into this story and, got into it a little bit with a few people on the way to the election and a little bit after. And I had just thought, like, at a certain point I was nature boy, anti-science, resenting people who just supported, who were left. I wanted to be somewhere in the middle, I guess, even though I was definitely right-leaning. I wanted to be somewhere in the middle because the one thing I never agreed with about the right was religion. Like, they're like, oh my God, Christianity, God is good, like, bro, no, religion is absolute bullshit. That is one thing about Republicans that are fucking idiotic. They just, Christians, I could never do that. I can never be a full-on, like, MAGA, like, having flags in my front yard and on my truck and stuff. I just wanted to be stopping the globalist movement. I wanted to support our last hope, which was Trump, and support Alex Jones and support RFK, because they seem to be on a noble mission, which was like stopping the globalist movement. So I also wanted to show that you can support unity, you can preach unity, you can be friends with gay people and support Trump at the same time. Lesson about that. You can't support Trump and like support gay people at the same time. Definitely that's an oxymoron. Something I tried to do. Again, I am retarded. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that was an interesting time. I will say, my girlfriend has had a huge impact on my growth over the last year, and I will say that I'm definitely maybe a little bit more grounded now, and I don't listen to Alex Jones anymore. Or if I were to turn it on, I would not have that I'm bought in mentality. I would just listen to like what he's saying and be very wary of any claim, because I was watching him debate another person about Alex Preddy the other day, and Alex was saying, there's Democrats that are saying we want blood, and the person he was debating was like, all right, name a Democrat who has said that, and Alex was like, oh, like he couldn't really like come up with a claim. He was like, I'll check my phone and I'll get back to you. But he can make a claim like that, but it's like there's no evidence to support what he's saying. And I don't think anyone wants blood in the streets, like who has, like, I don't know, basic empathy. And I mean, yeah, I'm all for empathy and caring for one another. And I do understand the division. I understand that people are looking for certainty. People want to know what's going on, and you could choose someone to listen to and follow where they go. If you want to know what's going on and you listen to Alex Jones, you don't want to question anything else, you go down the Alex Jones path. You want to listen to scientists and people who like can reason, then you go follow that path. You follow the path of science and data, and just come to your own conclusions. I mean, I will say that there is nothing wrong with going down a path. There's a quote on my phone I just read recently. You are free to choose, but you are not free from the consequences of that choice. So I was free to choose to go right last year, but I was not free from the consequences of experiencing that, where I had met a group of people last year that were aligned with where I was, and that was even more validating, to think, oh, wow, I'm not the only person that thinks this way. I know a lot of people listen to Alex Jones. A lot of people support, obviously, Trump won, so a good amount of people support him. But just to experience being in that group, it's like you feel unified for sure. But there's a whole sea of other people that very much disagree with the values that you're aligning with. And if you resent them for that, or you shut them off, you don't listen to what they have to say, you're being divisive. You're not being open, and it just leads to suffering. It can lead to suffering, mental suffering from both sides, and sometimes physical, depending on how far you take it. But I would say that I'm no longer in the right. I'm no longer right-leaning, especially to see ICE, immigration and customs enforcement, like killing people, and you could say, oh, it was a safety issue, they didn't feel safe. There's other ways to do this. You don't have to kill people. You don't have to kidnap them in the middle of the day. What about just getting a proper warrant and like knocking on their door? Okay, there's a job to be done, which is to remove illegal aliens from this country, or get them to be citizens in a legal process. There's a way to do that, but the way it's being done now is ridiculous. Like, it's not cool. It's not unifying. It's not making our country great. It's not. It's just, it's hard. It's hard for everybody, Everyone's just trying to do their best. It's just like, it's too much force. It's too much control. And then again, it goes into a little bit of Bitcoin, like government's too big. It's too big. There's so many things that the government's overreaching on. And fuck, I don't know what would happen to me. I'm saying this shit on public air, but yeah, I definitely don't support ICE or Trump. I hope any damage that has been done is resolved within time. I don't know that time frame, but a rebalancing. We were one way, then we went the other way, and hopefully it'll be time to go back soon, but it's easy to feel powerless too, like, what can I do? And, what can you do with everything going on? I would say just focus on your day-to-day interactions, moment to moment, interactions with yourself, with other people, with your pets. Because you could just doom scroll for hours. And is that productive? I don't know. Probably not. But you could focus on your relationships and hearing other people out. I mean, okay, yeah, people that support ICE, you could maybe like talk to them and say like, why do you do that? And then why do you support them? And they give a reason, and then you just talk about that reason. And if they get too uncomfortable or they start like becoming aggressive, then well, fuck that shit. I mean, just kind of have an open mind, because we're all one. We're all each other. To fight someone else, to judge someone else, to divide yourself from someone else is just dividing yourself from yourself. Practice empathy. Everyone could use a little bit of empathy practice, I would say. So, yeah, I mean, just to summarize, like, I was left. Last year I went right. Now I'm probably left again, I would say. It was an interesting journey, for sure. Shout out to my girlfriend for pulling me back, she kept me from going too far down one way. And keep an open mind. I hope being vulnerable and me sharing my journey would resonate with some part of you, because people go back and forth a lot. There's people that stay one way for their whole life, but then there's people that go back and forth, and it's not just with politics, it's with religion, it's with anything where there's choices of what to be. So, I would say keep going, reflect on your experience, and enjoy the experience, because there's a lot for you to not enjoy happening right now, but there's also a lot for you to enjoy. It's your choice. So that's it for this episode. See you later.